to Ranking the List, where we review, discuss, reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad. And this week we are discussing number 100 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the 100 Greatest Love Stories of All Time.
Yeah, so number 100. So this movie is Jerry Maguire. It's directed by Cameron Crowe. It was released in 1995. It's starring Tom Cruise, Renee Zellweger, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Regina King.
The synopsis is as follows. Sports agent Jerry Maguire, played by Tom Cruise, has a crisis of conscience, which leads him to be fired from his job and ultimately ends his engagement. He salvages one client, Rod Tidwell, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., and convinces one coworker to join him, Dorothy Boyd, played by Renee Zellweger. A romance eventually spawns between Jerry and Dorothy, and they marry for insurance reasons, which eventually leads Dorothy to ask for a divorce. Jerry, at a game where Rod has an injury scare that ultimately leads to his long-awaited contract extension, realizes he truly loves Dorothy and hurries home to win her back.
All right.
So, what were your general thoughts on this one?
So my general thoughts on this movie is I like it. I think it's a good story. It's entertaining. There's comedy in it. I do think there are a few love stories in this movie. The one that stands out to me, though, is the one between Rod Tidwell and his wife. They're very loving and sweet and are there for each other, and they have a really good dynamic. And I think Tom Cruise's, or Jerry Maguire, is, trying to look for that in someone.
I think they both are. I think Dorothy is too.
Yeah, she's looking for that in someone, and it starts out kind of rocky. They're not quite there. They get married for convenience, and they figure out that they really do care about each other and love each other. There's also the cute, super cute Ray, her son, which Jerry Maguire falls in love with as well. And he is really, really cute with this young actor. What's the actor's name?
Jonathan Lipnicki.
Yeah, and he's full of facts, random facts that he shares with everybody, which is hilarious.
Did you know the human head weighs 9 pounds?
Yes, it's very funny. So I do really enjoy this movie. I like all the characters. I find it entertaining.
Yeah, I did too. I like the movie. I think all the acting's great. To me, though, the bromances are the relationships that stand out more than Jerry and Dorothy, which is what really should shine in the movie. Like the relationships between Jerry and Rod and Jerry and Ray, those are really, really well done. You would expect, this is, Cameron Crowe. He's a great writer. He's a great director, and he really handles male relationships really, really great.
That's true. Yeah.
And he really captures male friendship with the interactions between Jerry and Rod. Male interactions are vastly different than female ones. Men tend to be very straightforward with each other and often combative. Like guys, you can get into a fist fight with a brother or a best friend and be fine an hour later, where women
do not do
that. Just don't do that.
We'll hold grudges for years.
Yeah, you get into long-standing, beef that just lasts for years and years and years. And that generally doesn't happen with guys. Guys generally get it out, get it over with, and move on for the most part.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of times in this movie where Rod and Jerry have confrontations, and there's a scene where even Rod says, you think we're fighting, I think we're finally talking.
Yeah.
Which is really encapsulates that kind of relationship. And then you mentioned Cuba Gooding Jr. and Regina King, they feel like a lived-in marriage. They feel like two people it's kind of represented that they probably have been together since high school. You know, she stuck with him through college, and once he got drafted, you know, they're married. They're deeply in love. They've got, you know, their son's super cute too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you know, they're kind of the ideal that's set in place for both Jerry and Dorothy. And both of them also realize we don't have that. There are issues in our relationship. You know, it's kind of an incompatible relationship, especially at first. Dorothy has been kind of fantasizing about Jerry at work for a long time, and she's got a huge crush on him. And she's super surprised. You know, there's a scene where they're at the airport, and she actually, you know, oh, he knows who I am.
Yeah, she's very
and
surprised.
And he's really great with her kid, which, you know, just sets her aflutter already. You know, that this guy, you know, he's, you know, maybe he's as advertised. And, you know, they end up getting together. You know, Jerry's biggest issue is his inability to be alone.
Right.
And that's ultimately what leads him to, you know, because Dorothy's going to leave. She needs to be able to, you know, make some money. And he asks her to marry him before, you know, literally like as she's got the U-Haul truck, you know, ready to leave, you know, to elsewhere.
Well, and too, and like, so you're talking about the bromances. Another relationship that stands out is between Dorothy and her sister, who live together.
Played by the great Bonnie Hunt.
Bonnie Hunt is fantastic in this movie, and they care about each other a lot, and you can tell that her sister knows what road she's gone down previously, so she wants to, you know, make sure that she's taken care of and okay, you know, and it's a very sweet relationship. And what's interesting to me is at the beginning of the movie, Jerry writes this mission statement, and he's telling people we need to have better relationships with our clients, we need to treat them well, all that. And, you know, that's kind of what the movie is about, him trying to make better relationships.
Yeah, so he works for like one of these major sports agencies that has probably 1,000 clients and probably 100 agents. And he writes this memo basically like, we need to have fewer clients and more personal relationships with the ones that we have. And he, you know, he just has this like, it just comes to him like spur of the moment in the middle of the night. And it gets
even
really,
the cover looks like The Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, and you know, he sends it out to all of his colleagues, and that's ultimately what gets him fired, because it's like, dude, you don't belong. You're obviously don't belong
what are
here.
you doing? Yeah.
And at the end, you know, I have issues with the whole, you know, journey that they take. You know, ultimately, Jerry went from being a rich, successful white guy in a relationship to being a rich white guy who's successful and in a relationship.
But now he has love.
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I have some issues with the movie. Mostly it's the treatment of the women in the movie. You know, there's this scene where, you know, Dorothy, you know, talks about, you know, how Tom Cruise's fiance must be
she must be a classy woman.
And they cut immediately to, you know, the two of them, you know, Tom and his fiance just, you know, really going at it. And it's just like, why do you gotta slut shame her? It's like she's having a moment with her fiance. It's like there's nothing wrong with it.
And she's a very powerful woman. She's a woman who like knows what she wants, and knows how to get it. And she wants her counterpart to be just as successful and as motivated as she is. Yeah. And so it's always, every time you see a female character like that, it's always seen as something bad about being negative.
And it's just like, you know, like there's nothing that about, you know, her relationship with Jerry which would make you think that she's not classy.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, they're in a committed relationship and they're having sex.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's fine.
It's totally fine. And then there's Dorothy's sister belongs to a woman's group. It's a bunch of,
Divorced women.
well, middle-aged divorced women, and the movie really treats them shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all these women are going through something, and they're all kind of
They have a community.
they're coming together. They're having a community. So there are issues. And then, you also have really great parts. It's a Cameron Crowe movie. The soundtrack's fantastic.
So good. He does the best soundtracks.
He's always
really,
really good in his soundtrack.
Yeah.
So, overall, pretty good movie. My score was a 75. Jerry's was a 73. The list score is therefore 74.
I tend to rank things kind of hard.
Yeah, she's generally harsher than me, as we've learned here as we've gone through and started watching these movies. I think this one will ultimately end up on our list. It'll probably be a little higher than where it is now.
Maybe a little bit.
Not too much.
Yeah.
Still holds up pretty well.
Yes.
It's a fun movie. Definitely worth a watch. So that is what we have to say about number 100 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions list.
That's Jerry Maguire. We did a combined rating of 74 out of 100.
All right. We will please like and
subscribe if you can.
Yeah.
Leave a comment if you have some ideas about Jerry Maguire. If you feel that it should be on this list, should we knock it off the list? What's your opinion? We'd love to hear from you.
And you can also email us at ratingthelist@gmail.com, and we will respond there as well. Until next time, I'm Brad.
I'm Jerry.
And we're rating the list.
We're rating the list.
We'll see you later.